Hey everybody, Josh here with a look at another Star Wars toy. And today we're going to take a look at Luke Skywalker's Landspeeder from Episode 4, A New Hope. And this toy comes from the Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection. So let's take this little fellow over to the toy studio and take a closer look at him. Come on. Alright guys, here we are today in the toy studio with a toy from the Star Wars Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection. This is Luke Skywalker's Speeder. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Micro Machines toy collection, that's a toy line that came out in the mid to late 90s. And actually they are still produced to this day, but these particular ones are called the Action Fleet Collection. And so Micro Machines made two basic sizes. They made a really teeny small, like 1-inch version of these vehicles. And then they made what's called a medium-sized vehicle, which is what you're looking at here. And this thing's about 3 inches long, probably. And they're a lot more detailed. They put a lot more attention into detail in producing these. And just to put it in scale and context so you can understand the size of this thing, here's a 3 3/4-inch Stormtrooper standing next to it, because I know sometimes on camera it's a little bit hard to tell the size of something, but that's just to help you guys put it into scale of how big this thing is. It's very small, about 3 inches long. And real quick here, we'll go ahead and spin this guy around so you can get a look at him. And as you can see, it came with a nice little display stand, the little black piece on the bottom. And most of the Action Fleet collection came with little stands like this to display on. And the ship does come off the stand and everything. We'll show you that. I'll show you that to you guys here in a sec. And the other reason I like this line so much is because, as you can see here, they come with little tiny action figures, and depending on which toy you bought, you get anywhere from 2 to about 5 figures with each toy. And so this is one that came with 2. You have a Luke Skywalker and, of course, an Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is the vehicle from Episode 4, A New Hope. And I realize everyone knows that, but this is what it is. So very cool here, and this thing does do some little tricks. I'll show that to you guys. So to get it off the stand, you just pull it straight up, and it does come off. And we'll look at that in a second. But I just wanted you guys to get a look at the stand here, and there you can see how the ship sits on there. There's a little tiny riser there with a little peg on it, and there's a hole on the bottom of the ship. I'll show it to you guys, where this peg mates up with it, and it holds the ship, and you can rotate it on there. And as you can see, it's just a little textured base with the toy logo on it, Action Fleet. Okay, so looking at the speeder a little bit closer, of course, one of the things that stands out, obviously, are the little tiny figures that come with it. So there is a Luke Skywalker figure, and here he is. And this guy's probably a little over 1 inch tall, maybe 1.25 inches. They're very small figures. And they do have movement. So what you have here is when you move his arms, they're one piece. So when you move one arm, you're moving both arms. And they just have to do things like this because these figures are so small. And the same thing with his legs. So he does have leg movement. You can bend him at the hips. And if you look here, you can see his legs are attached together at the feet. So, again, you're moving one leg, you're moving both legs. And that's just the way he works. But there is your Micro Machines Luke Skywalker figure. Okay, we'll put him to the side. And then, of course, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, so very tiny little figure with very large amounts of detail in it. Very cool. And the same thing, this guy does have movement, but what you're looking at here is Moving one arm, you're moving both arms. Okay, and then you have leg movement as well, where you can put him in the seated position as well. And as you can see, they just made his legs one solid piece because of the robe. So probably a little bit easier in the manufacturing process. But there he is, the wise old Jedi. All right, so looking at the ship again, it does do a few little things. It's very cool. You see there's actually a little control panel in there, a little tiny steering column, and a shifter. Little tiny shifter in there. Okay, and then when you look at the bottom, here is the hole for mating up with the stand. And as you can see, it has little, what appear to be like landing gears. And what these are actually movable wheels. And they're in the position where you see them now, where they're like tucked down. So you can sit this thing on the ground and it still gives the appearance that it's hovering a little bit. And that's also why, if you look, you can see they made it out of clear plastic. So what you want to do here is you kind of flip these things forward and backwards, but you just pull them out with your finger, as you can see, and then they all three of them pop out there, and then they turn into little tiny wheels. And what they did, if you look closely, if I can get the camera to focus on them here. Okay, maybe that'll help. If you look closely, you'll see they cut the wheels, or they put it in off center. So if you look, it kind of wobbles, and they did that on purpose, so it gives the appearance that, oh, it appears one of my wheels might be stuck. No, okay, it's moving. It gives the appearance that the thing is, some of my wheels are being a little stiff here, but I don't know if you can see it on that one. You can see how it's cut off. The hole in the center is off center. So what it's supposed to do when you roll it, so when you flip them out, you'll see that the ship sits a little bit higher, and then when you roll it, it doesn't really come across that well, because what I think is going on here is I think this one wheel is locking up on me, or it's this wheel here, it's not wanting to move. But if it did move, you can kind of see it a little bit when you move it. You can see the ship kind of bobs up and down. If I move my big hand. You see how it's very subtle, but if you look, the ship is kind of doing this as it rolls across the surface. Let's see here. I think you can kind of see it. It's not real obvious, but that's why they did that. The wheels are axled off center, and so it gives it a bobbing up and down motion when you move it. And so to put them back in here, you just push them in, and they lock into position. And see, there you can tell I'm not lying. 1995 Lucasfilm Limited. Okay, and so one other thing this little guy does is, it's kind of interesting, is one of the engine compartments, the one that's not exposed, is actually got a hood that you can pop up. So if you look in there, you can see there's engine parts and stuff like that. And the other one, there's no cover on it. It's exposed. But that's so, I guess, if Luke needs to get in there and do some repair work or work on the engine a little bit, there you have it. And it's just a little compartment that closes and opens with your finger. There's no buttons or levers or snaps or anything like that. All right. Just want to give you guys a good look at the whole thing from all sides. All right, now let's see if we can get the guys back in here. And you know, to be completely honest with you, I had them in the wrong seats. So this would be the actual driver's side with Luke. And then Obi-Wan would go in this side. All right. there they are. Friends to the end. All right. And then once again, of course, we're going to connect the display stand. All right, and there is the whole thing put back together. All right. But there it is, guys, from the Star Wars Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection. This is Luke Skywalker's speeder from Episode 4, A New Hope. And thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Bye.